Hello everyone, Fred here. In this installment of TPP Dynamite, I'm going to be reviewing the newly released DCEU movie Shazam! Fury of the Gods. First things first though, if you haven't already, let me encourage you to subscribe to my channel. I regularly post reviews of films, books, and movies on this channel. I'm also an author of adult and young adult mystery novels. To date, I've released 3 books, The Women in White, The Lethal List, and most recently, Textbook Murder. They're all on sale now, and there are purchase links in my video description below. With that in mind, and without further ado, welcome to my lightly spoilery review of Shazam! Fury of the Gods. So the basic summary for this movie is picking up about 2 years after the first Shazam movie. Billy Batson and his foster siblings are still learning how to juggle teenage life with their careers as adult superheroes, when a vengeful trio of ancient gods arrives on Earth in search of the magic stolen from them long ago. Shazam and his allies get thrust into a battle for their powers, their very lives, and the fate of the world. So I'm just gonna say this, I did not like this movie. It was lacking on almost every level that mattered. Yes, I'm very aware of the story behind why this movie probably ended up as badly as it did. Really, the fact that this movie even got to theaters was probably a small miracle. It was repeatedly shuffled around. Dwayne Johnson sabotaged parts of it in his own attempted takeover of the DCEU. It was developed amidst the shakeup of the Warner Brothers Discovery merger. James Gunn and Peter Safran's takeover may or may not have negatively influenced events as well regarding this movie. Zachary Levi will not shut up about everything that happened behind the scenes that kind of changed things that this movie was planning on or could have done better. And of course, it doesn't do this movie any favors for fans to watch it, knowing that it doesn't really mean anything because The Flash is likely going to reboot it all in a few months. But still, this movie was released, so I'm going to give it the same thing that I do every other movie or TV show or book that I cover on this channel, which is a fair review based upon what I saw, not the background drama surrounding it. And what I saw was meh at the very best. This movie is better than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, but that is saying nothing. Trust me. I've got plenty points of criticism for this movie, but for clarity's sake, I'll break them down into 2 categories. First, the story. This movie's writing and plot are shamefully underwhelming. This movie butchers almost every bit of continuity regarding the mythology of the gods and even the wizard Shazam that has been established in the Wonder Woman films, Black Adam, and even the first Shazam film. Like, how is the wizard even still alive after the first Shazam? How did his staff get from Philadelphia to friggin' Greece after it was broken and just discarded in the first Shazam? How are 3 more gods alive when Ares killed them all but Wonder Woman? And those are just the surface level inconsistencies with this story. The dialogue is uninspired and basic. Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren are wasted as villains, and not in a fun way. Honestly, they got spayed almost as badly as Michael Douglas got neutered in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Their motivations are cookie cutter, and both of their arcs are relatively predictable. They essentially exist so that Billy and his useless siblings, who keep losing their powers, can fight them, so Billy can learn one more time that he's a real hero, so Freddy can get a girlfriend and go through the trite arc with her where she betrays him and later redeems it and gets back together with him. None of the protagonists, the Shazam siblings, got any real moments to stand out from the pack, which is a problem because this is a Shazam movie and arguably should have still been about Billy Batson and his alter ego. And instead, he has to share screen time with his huge number of siblings who all have his same powers, and it really hinders his character development. Honestly, this is why if I were writing these movies, I probably would have waited on giving the siblings powers until the second movie, and I probably would have built a meaningful arc around their getting superpowers and have it happen like maybe at the end of the second act of this movie or the beginning of the third act. instead of pulling the trigger near the end of the first movie and giving them all powers when doing that added very little to the story. This movie itself is the same kind of fare that we've seen a billion times before by now in superhero films. Heroes and villains fight over a MacGuffin that could destroy the world. Every other character or plot development happens around that premise to prop it up. Some of the humor in this film gets pretty grating or even creepy as well. There's a running gag / possible product placement venture with Skittles that just gets so old so fast. There's a joke about Freddy's romance with Anne in light of how Anne is technically 6,000 years old plus, which kind of gives off pedo vibes. Like, I know that the ancient Greek societies, like the kind over which Anne was a goddess, were all about sex between kids and adults and free love like that, but it's still weird how cool Freddy's 21st century American family seems to be with that. Some of the humor from Zachary Levi's Shazam character also feels gratuitous. In my opinion, he really does joke and play around too much. In fact, he does it more than Billy Batson does before he transforms. And for that reason, it really feels to some degree like they're two separate characters versus one character with two bodies. The twist at the end with Wonder Woman made negative sense. It was such a butt pull. Like, how did she even know to come to the God realm? Or that she needed to repower the staff to save Billy's life? Or even how to repower the staff to save Billy's life? Why was that even written into the movie? It's played like such a joke and such an afterthought, and it undercuts any moment of genuine gravity surrounding Billy's sacrifice. You know what? This movie probably would have done well and made at least $400 million if it had been released in the 2000s, the early 2000s. It really is that kind of story. It's not burdened by plot or the need to prop up a cinematic universe or be part of a whole. It's pretty much a mindless, fun sort of film whose primary focus is to get the audience to shut its brain off and have a good time for about 2 hours. The MCU and other more recent superhero content on like Amazon, like The Boys, Invincible, other shows like that, it's kind of set the bar so high now that that sort of depth, the lack of depth from Shazam 2 and movies like that, it doesn't entertain audiences anymore, which is part of why Shazam 2 is bombing as badly as it is right now, in my opinion. But Shazam 2 really is good early 2000s superhero movie fare. Of course, the 2000s and superhero movies were defined by films like Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, and Iron Man, all of which, yes, even Spider-Man 3, do what Shazam tries to do, but better. But Shazam 2 still probably would have had a place amongst those films. After all, lest we forget, Fantastic Four and its sequel were being made during the 2000s. Those movies were worse than Shazam! Fury of the Gods, and they still broke $300 million at the box office, which Shazam probably will not do. Second, the effects and choreography. The CGI and visual effects for this movie are abysmal. The monsters, the Tree of Life, the God Realm, and the superpowers of the Shazam family all look cheap and barely better than what you'd see on the CW or maybe a Disney Plus show like She-Hulk or something. The choreography and scale of the fights between the Shazam family and the Daughters of Atlas left literally everything to be desired. I feel like the gold standard of God-level combat in cinema is probably Man of Steel's climactic fight between Superman and General Zod. Say what you will about Man of Steel as a movie, that movie represents perfectly what would and should happen when indestructible, all-powerful beings lay into each other. With Shazam! Fury of the Gods, the Shazam family and the Daughters of Atlas get hurt or tired or killed nearly, like way too easily, way too often for individuals who are supposed to have the literal strength and stamina of the gods themselves. The damage from the fights is so limited in scale and explosiveness that it hardly even feels like superheroes are fighting supervillains, much less like gods are fighting each other. This movie pulls back so many times on showing the blood or the gore or the destruction or the reality of what amounts to two families of gods that go to war against each other. Again, with Man of Steel, you get the sense that it was all Superman could do to stop his final fight with Zod from destroying the whole friggin' world by accident. In Shazam 2, you get the sense that only one city is at stake, and possibly not even the entire city at that. On the one hand, yeah, I get that the Shazam family is comprised of kids, and the kids don't tend to think about going all out in fights or taking kill shots or whatever. For example, I remember when one of the creatives behind Spider-Man Spider-Man Homecoming, that was it. Spider-Man Homecoming said he ensured that Spider-Man never specifically punched anybody in that movie, as a way of communicating that Peter Parker's relative childhood innocence makes him inherently less violent and more playful in combat. But here's why that sort of thing doesn't work in Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Every member of the Shazam family turns into adults with adult brains and the wisdom of Solomon. So every member of the Shazam family really should be thinking and acting like adults in fights, not kids. There should be a difference between them and Spider-Man, who still has a kid brain. Suffice it to say that I felt cheated on that level by this movie. It's like I wasn't so much watching Shazam: Fury of the Gods as maybe Shazam: Mild Hissy Fit of the Gods. I give Shazam: Fury of the Gods 3 cronuts out of 5. At any rate, let me know what you all think. How did you feel about this movie? Do you disagree with me? Do you agree? Or are you maybe in the middle somewhere? If you like this video, don't forget to leave a like, click subscribe, and please ring that bell. So long.